Detroit done through and through. Welcome back, Steve and Will. It's a nice little Sunday, daylight savings, a little extra daylight out for everyone, which means it's a little lighter out for you guys to hit that subscribe button and help us out greatly. William,
Yes, sir.
What are we talking today?
We're talking about rushing that edge. We're talking about sacking quarterbacks. We're talking about ruining game plans. We're talking about changing this Detroit Lions team from geek to chic.
I don't know what that means.
It means going from not cool to cool.
Oh,
Apparently you weren't cool.
Do that then. I was not. Yeah, yesterday we talked defensive tackles, kind of left the edges on their own, but today we're solely focusing on mainly that position opposite of Aiden Hutchinson and whoever can rush the passer. Who's a guy you like?
You know who I like.
Jared Verse.
Period. And can we get off the episode now?
Jared Verse is my number one choice. He's my number one defensive end, number one edge rusher. There's a slight problem though with him, William.
We're not going to be there to draft him.
Exactly. The Detroit Lions won too many football games last year.
Sorry, guys.
God bless you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, Jared Verse, absolute animal.
Yeah, man. Twitch. I say it all the time. That's what I'm looking for. I want to be in the backfield right now. I want you checking under your bed after the game to make sure I'm not rushing you from under your bed. Like it's the bottom line. Jared Verse, man, is the guy. He's not going to be there. So we got some other guys we're going to talk about. But if we're talking about favorites, I think we're in the same boat where Jared Verse is our favorite edge rusher in this draft.
Are we secretly Florida State fans? Yeah, because between Jared Verse and Braden Fisk, if I had both of those guys, I know we're not getting both of them. But if we got Jared Verse, I think he's the best edge rusher in this draft. I think him opposite of Aiden Hutchinson would pose a problem for many, many years to come.
I agree.
I think our pass rush immediately obviously gets better. Kaminsky, I don't really know what his role becomes. What do you think happens with him and Pascal?
I think they might be a casualty of war, man, to be honest. I think I think Pascal stays and Kamish might be a casualty of war after that, man. Or you might see one more season, and then depending on what we do with the cap, who we draft and what those contracts look like, and then who we sign and what those contracts look like. We talk about it all the time with Jared Goff and Amon-Ra St. Brown just off the happening right now.
Yeah, I don't know. I think is it possible Brad Holmes gets aggressive and he moves up in this draft?
I think without a doubt something's going to happen. I don't think we're just going to pick at our designated spots. It's just such a long time between 29 and 61, and I think 69 or 61 is.
You're thinking about 69?
Whatever.
Yeah.
I think I might 69 if depending on who we draft, but I think the difference between 29 and 61, man, there is a lot of players that are going to go in that window that are going to be tremendously different in that 40 to 50, 50, 55, 56 window. And even when you're looking at the numbers that we talk about it all the time, when we're looking at these mock drafts, and it's not about kind of like similar to last year. It's not about who's going where, guys. I don't think anyone in the world. It's like your NCAA brackets. Nobody's getting it 100% perfect. Who's going where? No different than our mock drafts last year. We had the guys. They were just all rumped up in different orders. We're getting Jahmyr Gibbs in the third round or into the second round instead of in the first round, and it was like jumbo all over the place. So we don't know who's going to go where, but we do know or have a strong idea of what guys are going to go in the top probably 60 picks. And some of the guys that we love just aren't going to be there at 61. It's just reality.
Who's another guy you love? Because I know a lot of people, whenever we talk about an NFL draft prospect or an edge rusher, a lot of people talk about Chop Robinson.
I was just going to say, I love Chop, man. I think his combine has ruined the possibility of him being there at 29 potentially, depending on what happens. Now, if some of these DTs go, then maybe he is there. But I love Chop. I didn't love him prior to the draft, but when I got an opportunity to lay eyes on him, I always thought that he could rush the edge, but I didn't just realize how put together the kid was. And he did nothing but validate what I saw on film and up his stock. The kid's a stud, man. I think he's going to just get on the field and just revalidate what we saw at Penn State because he looks bigger, stronger, and faster than he was there. So I'm really excited about seeing how this draft falls and unfolds. But if you're telling me Chop is a guy that is there at 29 and we draft him, I would be excited about it. How would you feel about it?
You know what I don't like about Chop?
What's that?
I think people are putting an unrealistic expectation on him when they compare him to Micah Parsons because they both went to Penn State.
Yeah,
Um,
that's not something that I'm doing personally.
yeah, it's just whenever I see someone talk about Chop Robinson, they're like, "Oh, he reminds me of Micah Parsons." Why? Because they went to the same school. Like Micah Parsons is probably a Hall of Famer already. He's probably one of the top 5 pass rushers in the league. If the Lions draft Chop Robinson, he's going to have that expectation over his head. And if and when he doesn't succeed or fulfill those shoes, that's going to be his downfall. He could come into the NFL and be a really good player, but I think a lot of Lions fans just expect um, 17 sacks a year, 15 sacks a year. I don't think Chop Robinson's that kind of guy.
Bottom line, they're not even the same style players, man. They
Well,
just
all right. So what's the difference? Walk us through it. What's the difference between Chop and Micah?
right off the top of my head, the fact that Micah Parsons can play linebacker. Chop isn't going to come in and play linebacker in the NFL. Micah Parsons is a linebacker that happens to be elite at rushing the passer. Chop Robinson is an edge rusher. That's the difference. So all these dreams that the Detroit Lions have had about playing James Houston at Sam linebacker and playing Charles Harris at Sam linebacker and whatever Okora brother you could find that was healthy in a moment at Sam linebacker, it's a reality when you talk about Micah Parsons. He's a guy that could have suited up at linebacker, and it was just a fluke that they went down and lost the DN, and they put Micah Parsons in that position, and he showed out. Otherwise we probably wouldn't even know that he had this ability. But Chop Robinson isn't that same guy. While he's a solid player and he rushes the passer well, he's not a guy that you could just plug and play at a linebacker position. So I think that's the biggest difference in my eyes. You noticing anything different?
No. So let me ask you this: do you think Chop Robinson would be an every down player then, or would he purely just be a pass rush specialist?
I think it depends on how he develops. As a rookie coming into the league, I don't think he's going to be a 3-down player. But if he develops at that same linebacker spot, if he develops as a guy who can drop into zones, so there's a guy that can be versatile, I think there's a potential there. I don't ever think that he's going to have Micah Parsons linebacker upside. And if he surprised me as a Detroit Lion and did it, I would be just elated about it, but that's not something I see when I look at him on film. He's going to be a guy that's probably more of a situational guy and a guy who can play every down potentially as he develops, but it's going to take a little bit of time to get him there.
Well, do you think a player like let's just keep the ball rolling? Do you think a player like Dallas Turner might be a little bit better suited for that Sam linebacker? Because I think him and Chop Robinson are the same type of player. Do you think Dallas Turner is a little bit better, more well rounded?
I do, man. I think it's going to be a scheme fit, though. I think with a guy like Dallas Turner, I think that you got to evaluate what you're doing up front. Are we going to move to more odd front so we can keep him on the field? Is that the direction that we're going to go with this defense? Because you always got to match your defense with your personnel. So if you draft somebody this high, man, it's you can't have a scheme that doesn't fit your first round draft pick. It just wouldn't make sense. So that would be the next move. Do we change our defense a little bit? Do we tweak it? And I don't think people notice that we don't come out in the same thing every week. We don't come out and run the same stuff all the time. We don't come out with the same personnel week to week. Sometimes you got Germ out there. Sometimes Germ never touches the field, and it doesn't necessarily have to do with people being injured. You know what I mean? Sometimes you see a little bit more Malcolm Rodriguez than you typically would see. Sometimes you see him trying to have Barnes as an edge rusher rather than him lined up at linebacker. So I mean, it's a lot of different things that we do throughout the games per game plan. But I think that if we draft any of these guys high that are true edge rushers, then we're going to see a lot more odd front stuff.
I think Dallas Turner is probably the second best pass rusher in this draft behind Jared Verse. I just don't know if he fits the Detroit Lions. I think as much as we don't like him and we don't think he's going to be as great as a lot of other people do, I think the Lions still have a lot of faith in James Houston. I still think a lot of people are holding out, mainly Aaron Glenn, Dan Campbell. But I think we're both in the boat of we'd like to be wrong, but Ultimately, it's not our decision. So I don't know if either Chop or Dallas Turner fits for the Detroit Lions, just because I think James Houston is unfortunately a roadblock.
I honestly don't think James Houston is a roadblock. I would say, and this is not to be mean or because I'm if you're a Detroit Lion, I'm cheering for you. Period. Like if you're wearing the Honolulu blue, I'm not cheering against you. I'm not hoping that you do bad, but we have to get on this podcast and talk about truly how we feel and what our opinions are and what we see when we watch the tape. James Houston isn't any good. Like I'm sorry, people. Like
Easy.
it's the facts. Like he was getting manhandled. Watch the film. I don't say things that I can't go and pull up tape and support the things that I say. James Houston at the beginning of the season, prior to being hurt, was getting treated like a child by grown men on a football field. His little skip to my Lou, little dip shoulder move that it was unorthodox that nobody had ever seen before. They got it on film. They figured it out. And now he has to go add more tools to his game if he wants to continue to play in the National Football League. Otherwise, he's going to be a guy that tells people how he had all these sacks in his rookie season, and then he got injured, and then he was out the league. And again, that's not what I wish for him. I hope that he can expand his game. I'm rooting for him. I'm always rooting for these Detroit Lions that are wearing Honolulu blue. But reality is reality. Just watch the tape. He is not bull rushing anybody. You can't just play in the NFL and run by people, even if you're Micah Parsons. Micah Parsons ran a 4.3, if I'm not mistaken, at the combine. Right?
Something like that.
But he's not just running by offensive tackles. If they know all you can do is run by me, all you can do is dip your shoulder and try to run by me and bend, then we're going to prepare for that. If you have no other moves to combine with that, you can't win playing with grown men and people that spend all of their time preparing for the opposite team and what they do. You're just not going to do it. You got to have more things. You got to have more tools in that toolbox. So if he adds to his toolbox, he could definitely have a space in this NFL. If he doesn't, there's going to be other guys in there.
To me, pass rushing is like pitching in baseball. It doesn't matter how many. You got to have more. You can have a really good fastball. You got to have some good secondary stuff.
You do.
You can't just be able to blow by people. You got to be able to throw a changeup in there. You got to be able to throw a curveball. You got to be able to do a lot of different things other than just fastball. Because eventually, just like in baseball, just like in football, they're going to catch up to it. They're going to notice what you're doing. They're going to notice how to make adjustments at the plate and from the tackle positions. That's how I compare it. And I don't love James Houston. I love him as a Detroit Lion. I'm with you. I'm in the boat paddling right next to you. I want to see him succeed. I hope he succeeds. I think he's a huge X factor for this team, but more questions than I have answers.
Can I dead this real quick? Last thing I'm going to say about James Houston.
Yeah.
If James Houston is on the football field right now, what are you thinking is going to happen?
Pass rush. We're probably ascending him on a pass rush. More than likely. 9 times out of 10.
He's not doing anything else. You can't be in the NFL and be one-dimensional. You can't have an offensive tackle saying, man, there's James Houston. I wonder what he's doing.
Like, it's pretty obvious. You might as well pull their left tackle over to the defensive huddle and be like, hey, this is what we're going to run.
What are we talking about?
This is what's happening. Yeah. Also, how you don't talk bad about Lions. I'd like to hear you say some nicer things about Tom Kennedy in the future, not today, but later on down the road. You know how Tom Kennedy is borderline Hall of Famer, in my opinion. Preseason Hall of Famer.
So about these edge rushers.
Let's talk probably, man, I really like this kid, Brillan Trice from Washington, but what concerns me with him is that neck injury. He was an absolute beast at Washington. He looked okay at the combine. I don't think he really wowed anyone, but I don't think he hurt his draft stock or helped it. I think he just kind of stayed neutral, in my opinion, which is fine. But how do you feel about Brillan Trice, defensive end from Washington?
I like Brillan Trice, man. Did he? Wait. Let's just so we're locked in. Did he hurt his neck too? Because I was thinking, are you thinking about Latu?
No, damn, I was thinking a Latu. I'm sorry.
No worries.
That's my bad.
Yep, no worries. But Latu, man, Latu is somebody I love. He looked absolutely phenomenal and smooth at the draft, man. But at the end of the day, Levi Onwuzurike, man, we talked about it in yesterday's episode. It's just something that burns me up, man. Just Levi Onwuzurike. I believe he was a second round pick.
Second or third, yeah.
Yeah. So, just drafting him that early, him not really being able to be on the field, it just kind of burned me on those things. And I know no risk it, no biscuit, right? But it just kind of burned me on it. Emmanuel Mosley just kind of burned me on it, man. Like I know this is something that Brad Holmes likes to do. He even did it with J-Mo, but at the end of the day, I don't think we're in a situation where that's what we have to do right there. Because when Latu is going to be there, when he's there, it's going to be at pick 29. And there's going to be other options. We talked about it in our last episode, guys. Please go check it out if you didn't see it, where we talked about there may be all three DTs available. All right, there's going to be good for Darius Robinson, who I'm not in love with, but if you're telling me risk somebody who may not be able to play because of an injury, and I know he's been playing. I know he's, if he gets cleared, it should be good. But Levi Onwuzurike also got cleared at the end of the day. So I would rather, there is no sure thing, but I would rather take less risk with whoever we select at 29. Although I do love his game, and I hope that he can. I'm not wishing bad on any of these guys.
I think Brillan Trice is probably he's the prototypical defensive end. ESPN, according to ESPN, I don't have his combine stats, but ESPN lists him as 6'4", 274. I don't know what he officially his height and weight were at the combine. We know it's usually a little bit different within an inch or two. But I think if you pair him on the other side of Aiden Hutchinson, I think you're at least. I believe I saw something that Brillan Trice was the number one in pressures in college football last year, and number two was Mohamed Kamara. I think when I was studying up on Mohamed Kamara is where I learned that stat. Someone in the comments, leave a comment down below. Let me know if that's accurate or not. I'm not 100% sure that's true, but I think if you're getting pressures and you're getting that many pressures, I think over 70 pressures in college football, that is a astronomical stat.
Yeah, I get it, man. It's just too many guys that I love at 29 that aren't any of these dudes. Like, I love all the DTs. I even like, we haven't talked about him yet, but Chris Braswell better. I like him more. It's just these guys, man, that are a risk, and they don't have elite or even solid twitch. They're just not guys that I would select. But at the end of the day, it's a matter of what Brad thinks and what he holds value to and what we're going to run defensively. What is Aaron Glenn planning on doing next year? Is he looking for a pass rush, or is he looking for a guy that can offer a little bit of pass rush, but is also going to stop the run? Like, I don't know what his game plan is. Is he looking at maybe going a different route and getting because they tried it last year with Jack Campbell doing a little bit of edge rushing. So are we going to go get a big guy like a Darius Robinson and then let Jack Campbell edge rush a little bit? And, I don't know. It's a matter of what they're trying to do. I'm going to trust the scheme ultimately on draft day. But if it's me, those guys are a no for me. Latu and Trice, both of them.
You keep mentioning Darius Robinson, William.
Yeah.
You know what Darius Robinson reminds me of? Mashed potatoes. You either love mashed potatoes or you hate mashed potatoes.
Yeah.
Or sometimes you're just going to choke it down if your mama puts it on a plate for you.
Yeah.
Mama being Brad Holmes in this scenario. So that's an A+ analogy, I think so, on my part. but for me, I'm kind of partial on mashed potatoes. I have to drown it in gravy. So am I really eating mashed potatoes or am I eating gravy? That's what Darius Robinson reminds me of. I don't like him. I don't love him. If he's the pick, I have to trust Brad.
Yeah. I just don't see defensive end when I look at him. Even when I watch him on film, I know he has success at Mizzou.
His best success at Mizzou is a defensive end.
Yeah, I get it, but I also think that when you're the biggest kid on the 5th grade basketball team and they just pass you the ball in the post and you go get layups, he's a 6'5", 300-pound dude that offensive tackles in college were trying to block. He didn't look like elite, as far as from a twitch standpoint or from a explosiveness standpoint. Like when we watch Fisk on film, he looks like he's just getting off the football. I didn't see that. Even when we look at Rook or Roa, when that ball snaps, he looks like he's just firing off of the football. That's not what
shot out of a cannon.
Yeah, I don't see that out of Robinson, man. So, and I just worry again, and I've talked about it before. Is he a guy that we already have? Is he a guy that's similar to the hybrids like Kaminsky and Pascal? Guys that are 280 pounds, that can't rush the passer, that can anchor in the run game. That's my worry. Do we already have 2 Darius Robinsons on the team? Is he slightly better at stopping a run, which we did successful last year? I want to add to what we have, not break even or, you know, sacrifice, you know, one of the guys that we have and save a couple of million, because it's not like Kaminsky or Pascal are guys that are breaking the bank. So it'd be different if we were saving a huge contract, bringing in Darius Robinson or, replace one of those guys. I just don't see the fit for the Detroit Lions like a lot of people do. But if we draft him, and Brad, I trust.
I think he would be a better pass rusher than Kaminsky or Pascal. I think he's the same when it comes to stopping the run, but on 3rd and 8, I think I'm done watching Kaminsky. I think I'm done watching Pascal. I'm not completely done with Pascal. That's my guy from Kentucky. I can't completely close him out yet, but I'm willing to give Robinson a shot in that aspect. I think he's a better pass rusher. I think on 3rd and 7, known passing situations, I think I'd rather have Robinson in there than Kaminsky. That's what it's going to come down to for me. Is that worthy of pick 29? I don't think so.
I don't think so either, man, especially if at the end of the day, we're looking and Fisk was there and Jazon Newton was there or Byron Murphy was there or Chris Braswell was there or any of these guys that we talked about. And next thing you know, the Philadelphia Eagles are one of these teams that the Baltimore Ravens, one of these teams that always have a pass rusher. They draft him and he goes on to be a great pass rusher. And I'm just pissed. Like, man, you know what I mean? Like, we got Darius.
Kind of like passing on Aaron Donald, like we did for TJ Hawkinson.
Yeah, we got Darius Statue Robinson, in a just holding guys up, at the line of scrimmage and stopping progress and being a run stopper, but just not getting the pass rush again. Like, I don't want to go through another season where, again, we're praying for this defense to just hold on. I want to be a problem. So that's just what I see, man. But maybe I'm wrong, guys. Put it in the comments. Like, are you a Darius Robinson lover? Do you think that this guy's going to come in and just be a freak? I've seen a lot of people put in a comment, dude's just a freak.
Here's the thing with Darius Robinson, and I can't believe we've been talking about him for 8 or more minutes, but he wasn't even on the radar today to talk about. He just kind of popped up. He wasn't on the list. We were going to talk about some other guys, but here we are talking Darius Robinson. I think that if it weren't for 2 things, mock drafts and Detroit media, nobody would be even thinking about Darius Robinson. If you just purely take the fact that he's been mocked to us in a couple Mel Kiper mocks, and then Dave Burkett and those guys from the Free Press who are talking about him every day. If you seriously just took those 2 aspects completely out of your mind, and I know it's impossible to do, and you just said, watch his tape, you would not see a guy that's worthy of a pick 29, in my opinion. Now, I'm not a Mel Kiper. I don't work for ESPN. I don't get paid to go to every single college game and scout guys and take notes and have inside information. I don't work for the Detroit Free Press. I'm not a journalist. I'm just a diehard football fan who watches a lot of football, and I see what I see. That's all it really is. I mean, I think if you take those 2 things out of it, Darius Robinson's not even on a lot of people's radar. I think he's a 2nd-round talent at best.
I think it just depends on what you're looking for. If you're a team that needs somebody to anchor the run, he's a dog. Like,
yeah, but is a run anchorer a number 1 pick worthy of a first rounder? I don't think so.
If you have, I think it just depends on your team. If that's what you need, for sure.
I guess if that's like the missing piece, but I don't know.
If not, because if you're a team that has, like, if you're the Philadelphia Eagles and you got pass rushers for days, maybe that's what you're looking for. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I don't know. Just for me, it's a no. I want guys that are going to rush this passer. I want guys that are going to be disruptive. I want guys with speed. And this is coming from a guy, if you watch this channel, I'm always after the guys that are just physically imposing and dominant on the football field. And he is definitely that. Just doesn't have enough twitchiness for me.
We're going to wrap this up. Here's my homework assignment, because I know a lot of people are going to probably hammer some comments about Darius Robinson, and he's, talk him up like he's the next JJ Watt. Here's my homework assignment for you guys. Before you leave a comment, go watch game film on Braden Fisk and Darius Robinson. Tell me which one pops out more to you. If you can look me dead in the eyes in person and tell me that it's Darius Robinson, I'll buy you a beer. That's how confident I am in what we've studied, what we've looked up on this kid. The tape doesn't lie. Braden Fisk is hands down probably the most explosive defensive lineman in this draft. Will he be there at 29? Fingers crossed. I really hope so. But leave some comments down below, guys. We've talked about some edge rushers. We've talked about a little bit of everything. Hit that comment button. Leave some comments down below. Hit that like button and subscribe if you're new to this channel. We'll be back later with some more content.
Peace.